What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where I spring random videos of my friend Brian over there. We're recording already. We're going to do some fucking Umbrella Academy episode 2 of season 4. Brian, I just sprung this on you. Are you ready to talk about this show?
I'm ready to talk about this show. Again, though, I feel like, you know what, last week I didn't think there was going to be much to say, and we talked a decent amount of time about it, more than I thought. I mean, who knows? Maybe the same thing will happen here.
That's what I was kind of thinking, too. This show is definitely fun, and I think that whoever, who's in the writer's room, they make it a concentrated effort to be like, okay, how can we make things really ridiculous and silly? And I think they always make that a priority over the drama or superhero lore. What do you think?
Yeah, there's definitely a weirdness factor to it. There's some kind of goofiness in there, but it's still kind of violent at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So, it's funny because we've talked about this in previous reviews, but the Umbrella Academy was written by Gerard Way and it was illustrated by Gabriel Ba. And Gerard Way has made a couple of different comics, including a run on Doom Patrol, a pretty modern run on Doom Patrol. Wouldn't you say that both of the shows are very similar?
Yes. Same vibe. Yeah, I mean, Gerard Way was clearly very inspired by Grant Morrison anyway. And I think you can kind of see that with the comics. I wouldn't necessarily say this show feels like anything Grant Morrison did or ever, but it does feel like the Doom Patrol show in a way.
Right. Now here's the $1 million question. Which one is funnier, this show or Doom Patrol?
I don't think you can top Brendan Fraser saying fuck.
Okay. Yes. And the amount of star quality, there's kind of bigger stars in Doom Patrol than there are on this show.
Yeah, I agree with that too, yeah.
They have random cameos for the villains, but the main cast are not as well known as the main cast of Doom Patrol.
Yeah, I would say that, for a lot of these actors, this might be their highest profile work.
Yeah. And honestly, all of them have good comedic timing. And I think probably the best part of the whole show is the chemistry between the family members.
I agree. Yeah, they definitely really they've relied on that chemistry the entire run of the show, honestly. That I don't feel is really a part of the comic necessarily.
No, agreed. Yeah. They're always kind of on their own little missions, dealing with their own independent things, and they come together in the comic, but they're way more together on the show.
Yeah, and it's interesting so far is that they've mostly been all together here. Like for most seasons that they're each off in their own little adventures, and they kind of interact with only a smaller subset of the family. But here it's 2 episodes so far, and we've basically been together. Everyone's been together the entire time.
Yeah. The only time in this episode where they were apart was when they start to wake up and they have this hangover from drinking the sake, and then they get their powers back, and their powers are new and improved. And so I got the ticker going across right there. The first person we see is Luther, who seems like he's got a really bad hangover. He goes to his strip club job, and all of a sudden he's doing some pretty awesome flips. He's got Magic Mike doesn't have anything on him.
Yeah, I got a kick out of the scene. You could tell that he was having a lot of fun filming it. It looks like, and it's weird. It's weird because the crowd was very into it until he ripped off the spacesuit and he was extremely hairy, and everybody ran in fear. But then later on, they made a comment about how they bumped up his time and he's booked extra places and stuff. So I was very confused.
Yes,
the reaction.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I was actually going to make that a ticker too, because I was like, wait a minute, weren't they talking about adding more time to his, or changing the time of his shifts and stuff,
Yeah, to a better time too. They clearly stated it was a better time.
Yeah. I don't want to get all weird and stuff, but that actor is this big, attractive man, and he does all these moves and stuff, and it's why would this guy not be a draw when he was normal looking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's getting weird already. So speaking of packages, though, Diego starts throwing packages with his special ability, and it was kind of funny because the show obviously has a budget for effects, but it's that sort of lower quality of effects than what we see in like MCU shows, and I'm trying to think of other stuff like the Amazon shows that we cover. Like, so like I thought it was a little cheesy seeing the packages do all these little swirls to go into the mailboxes when Diego was delivering them.
Yeah, it was more so the ones that like flew out behind the truck that looked a little off, but I mean the first couple looked fine.
Yeah. We cover so many different shows. We cover all the MCU shows. We cover The Boys, and I'd have to say that I like these weird shows that not as many people talk about. You don't see it on social media that much about them. I like even if they have like a lesser budget, I still kind of enjoy something like this more, just because it just seems sort of more fun. And I mean, The Boys is fun, but this is just so much more enjoyable than a lot of the kind of generic MCU shows that we cover.
It's easy to watch. It's not it doesn't feel like a chore to watch. I'm interested in watching it. It's not like top tier amazing must watch TV, but it's just fun, enjoyable TV to watch, and I kind of almost want to just finish it now.
Right. And and I was debating that too. Like, should we just kind of binge the rest of it, since it seems like when we have an episode, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? Not a lot happened,
Yeah, because not a lot happened, and there's no comic to compare it to. So it's like,
right.
Maybe we should just finish it. But then what else do we cover?
Well, I was thinking, because I think my Amazon Prime subscription didn't end yet. I thought I canceled it, but I think it's still going. So we might want to check out that Batman cartoon.
Oh, Cape Crusader. Okay, let's do it. Let's finish this next week. Do an episode of Cape Crusader. Yeah.
Look at that. Brian's got it all planned. So then let's keep milking this episode for things to talk about. So Klaus, he starts reading tarot cards. And I think that like in the show, they haven't really gone into the idea of him doing mystical kind of shit. I mean, I know like tarot cards, anybody can kind of do them, but in the comic, he kind of seems much more of like a Doctor Strange type character than in the show. In the show, he just kind of seems like, for the most part, like an alcoholic or drug addict who can see dead people. But in the comic, he's more like mystical.
Yeah, seeming. He's more like a drug addict Doctor Strange in the comic, I would say. Yes. So that does seem to lean into that. And I imagine that, let's just jump around with each character, I suppose, here. Like, he takes a bullet later in the episode, and they revive him with the Marigold. And I imagine that since some of the other characters have slightly different abilities now, and maybe he'll get something that seems more along that line moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. They all have like secondary mutations now.
See, I don't think everybody did, but like, Lila, I don't remember Lila shooting eye beams before.
Yeah.
Rumor's powers seem to be more mind control related.
Yeah.
Than previously. And I guess Victor, they never really defined what his power is, but it seems like she's almost like Havoc at this point.
Yeah, the way I interpreted that was like Victor had more control over their powers. Like they could do like straightforward blasts, whereas like previously they just kind of would blast out. Like they'd almost have like a pressure valve was being opened, but it's more like Cyclops or like Havoc, like you just said. It's funny.
Space Boy seems the same.
Yeah.
5, arguably the same, although depending on where he's jumping to now. I guess maybe Diego has some more powerful abilities.
Yeah, well, so, okay, a few things. Space Boy, right, Luther, he at one point gets shot by a whole bunch of machine guns, and he's kind of like blocking the blast. So I think he's like stronger, or, his skin is harder. Maybe he has
some unbreakable skin or something.
Yeah, and then like Lila, she's an interesting case because I think that her powers were kind of like Rogue or like Peter from Heroes, where like they have the powers of the other superpowered people around them, right? Wasn't that like what she
initially had? Like Mimic, I think. Yeah.
Mimic from X-Men, right? So like she's not even in the comic at all, right?
She's not.
Yeah, so I think that like they kind of had to figure out what to do with her, and maybe they'll go into more detail in a couple of episodes, but there's only fucking 4 episodes left.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then you were saying about Diego, like he seems more powerful. There's that one moment where they're shooting machine guns at him, and then he like jumps up, and the bullets swirl around him, and then he throws them at everyone too.
Yeah, very much. And I like how you describe it here as Magneto Matrix moment, because it very much was a Magneto-like power and a Matrix-like shot. So,
yeah.
But that does seem like a power upgrade compared to before. And again, just a comment that is not Diego's power in the comic. His power is like breathing underwater or holding his breath underwater. And he just hates it, and he just throws knives instead.
Right. Yeah, that's always a thing. Our channel's called Comic Books Transformed. And one thing I get a kick out of is when they like fundamentally change a character's powers for a movie or a show, where it's like, oh no, this is totally different because we're going for this idea. And I think that like sometimes I actually like that idea from the comic, where it's like, he's going for this sort of like rogue. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I like the idea from the comic is that he has the power that he doesn't like or thinks is useless, and he does something else.
Yeah. They like when the show started out, like the comic itself is much more like we're going for like Silver Age weirdness, and everyone's got crazy costumes, and there's superheroes all over the world and stuff. And we're inspired by pulp kind of adventure stories. And then they basically made it like where the show is like X-Men, but like from the movies, like the 2000 movie and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird because like when the show starts off, they do this montage where they're all dressed like the Umbrella Academy kids, and they like act like a superhero team. But that's the most like superhero-y thing you see in the show.
Yeah. It definitely seems like they implied that they had more of that when they were younger, and they all kind of are all washed up in a way, really.
Yeah. This season exemplifies that the most,
Yes.
But let's just kind of get all the details out about the secondary mutations or like the enhancement of their powers. So you mentioned 5. How did you interpret the train station and his power?
Well, when he first jumped over there, you right off the bat noticed the weird symbols on the walls. I didn't get too much out of that, but as he explores a little more, you do see him getting on a train. There's a whole bunch of weird effects on the when he's riding his train. It sounds like there's some strange language being spoken, or maybe something in reverse. So that's where I was going. Is it alien, or is it some kind of like weird reverse time thing or something?
I didn't even think of a reverse time thing. That's interesting.
The way that the audio sounded, it really sounded like it was something that was reversed.
Yeah. Well, those symbols that are on the train, right? Don't they have those symbols like in the Hotel Oblivion on the show?
Probably, because they definitely leaned into Reginald being an alien and those symbols there, and it's very possible there's some similarities, but I just don't remember.
Yeah, I know it's been. What was the last season out? Like, when did that come out?
It was like 2 years ago.
Okay, so it happened after COVID.
Did it?
COVID's 2020, so yeah. So, while you're looking that up, I was gonna say that like we finally do get the dad's like presence on the show, because like the way the last season ended, it was very bizarre. The Hotel Oblivion just basically like kind of like blew up, and they used their powers to kind of like save the world. But then like a new timeline was created, and they didn't have their powers. And the very last shot you see in the last season was they pull back in this city that they're in, and the dad is there, but it looks like he's with the mom too.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And season 3 dropped in June of 2022, so it has been over 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, do you have any kind of speculation, any kind of armchair? Wait, is it called armchair fantasy booking? There we go.
Fantasy booking.
Like, do you have any idea like what the fuck is going on in the show?
I mean, clearly that there is something weird about this timeline or reality, and the Gene and Gene have this group that have noticed it. I don't know if there's an immediate threat to this reality or not. And I'm not even sure who the villain is necessarily, or if it's multiple or not. I mean, it could be Gene and Gene. It could be Reginald Hargreaves. We know that from this episode that the town was all people that worked for Reginald.
Yeah.
And that everyone is looking for Jennifer something.
Yeah, man, I just had her name up on the fucking ticker too. Jennifer Grossman.
Yeah. Is it Jennifer Grossman, or are we just assuming that because Cy Grossman was looking for her?
I think it is Jennifer Grossman, because there is this weird moment. Okay, so basically there's, for anyone that hasn't watched the show, and I mean, this probably sounds like nonsense, all the shit we're saying anyway, but the guy, what the fuck is his name? The brother that has the tentacles?
Ben.
Okay, so Ben goes into this diner and he's talking to this woman and he's complaining about the service in the diner because he thinks she's just a waitress. Then she's like, I'm the manager. I'm the owner. Like, I'm this big person in this town. And then we eventually find out that she is this person they're looking for. And I actually really like the moment when that's revealed, because Klaus finds this other woman when all hell breaks loose. And she's like, I'm Jennifer Grossman or whatever. You need to help me. And then it turns out she's just playing pretend or whatever. And then she shoots Klaus. But there has to be some kind of significance about Jennifer Grossman, or at least her name is Jennifer. They at least call her that.
Yes.
To where the people in the town, they want to keep her safe, but she seems to be oblivious to the fact that the entire town is armed and working for the dad.
Yeah. So there's 2 points then. So there's Hargreaves' men that have Jennifer, and then there's Gene and Gene, which we don't know. I guess they also want Jennifer because that's who they grabbed at the end. So she seems to be the main point here, but we just don't know why yet.
Wouldn't it be really fucking weird if they established, realities, if a timeline exists, it's because it has an anchor being, and she's the anchor being of this timeline, right? That's why they want her,
Or she's the anchor being of the other timeline. And they need her to make it go back.
Honestly though, I think it might be something like that.
It potentially, yeah. I feel like she has to be some kind of relic from the other reality or something like that, or something, or some tool to be used. I also wouldn't rule out that she's another one of the children, the 68 children, and that happens to be her power. That's something to do that could, change this. There was a shot after their car got hit.
Okay.
And it was flipping over. There is a shot of 2 characters' hands touching, and it appeared one of them was Jennifer.
Yeah.
And there was a fiery kind of effect, almost looked like it was orange.
Yeah, almost like a Phoenix thing from the X-Men movies. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe you could even say it was the marigold. Who knows? But you definitely see that effect happen. And I don't know who gave it to her or what she gave to somebody else. But I feel like that's going to play into it too.
Yeah, I think she was sitting next to Ben, right? Or was she sitting next to...
Yeah, that makes sense that she was sitting next to Ben, because Ben's the one that brought her in, and that's the only one she knows, really.
Right. The what do you call it? The Ben's story arc at least seems to be focusing on her. He's the one that meets her in the diner. I think he sees her a second time before all hell breaks loose. And so that seems to be his focus of his story. Everyone's got their own little thing they got going on, but that seems to be his focus. So maybe he's the one that's touching her.
Yeah, I feel like I just got a fantasy booking idea.
Okay, do it.
She's going to be the focal reason, the conduit to change reality, and Ben is going to have to make a choice between turning reality back to his reality with the Sparrow Academy, or the reality that his other family members are. So he's going to have to make a choice between a selfish choice of his own thing, or is it his newfound family going to trump that instead?
Yes, and that would be a great point. That would be good drama because then you also have Luther wanting the Sparrow family to come back because of Sloane.
Sloane, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be good. Yeah, yeah. It's probably not going to be that at all, but I like what you came up with.
So I've been trying to stay away from finding things out. Not that you really see too much about coverage about this,
You don't.
but I did read a headline saying that the ending is very unsatisfying. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing, I've seen one thumbnail about this show, and then otherwise I haven't seen anything. And the thumbnail is very strange. It's probably made by like one of those weird, like really toxic YouTubers. But essentially, it's like the fall of the Umbrella Academy. And it's got a picture of, at the time, it was what was Victor's name when it was Ellen Page? What was that character? Vanya. Okay, so it was a picture of Vanya, like all lit up, like from the show with the glowing eyes and stuff. And then I tell you, the picture right next to it was so bizarre. It looked like a bunch of faces kind of melting. It looked like straight up out of a horror movie. It looked like the faces of like 4 different people, but like kind of smushed together and like all like melted and bulbous. And it said, from this to this. Now, I don't know, because unfortunately, sometimes in my timeline, I get like, because of the stuff we're into, sometimes I get those like real toxic videos too.
Yep.
And I don't know if like this is some person making some kind of commentary on people being transgender, changing their gender, or if that's literally an image from the show. And if it's from the show, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Because it looks so weird, you know?
Yeah, now I'm actually curious.
Yeah. I think I might look it up after our video and just send you. But like, you know, you don't have to click on it, but just see this weird fucking thumbnail that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. If that's on the show, I'm going to be like, what the hell is this? But it's just basically like this weird image. So it just says from this, and it's pointing to Vanya to this. So we'll see. One thing I think we should talk about too, before we wrap this up, is that I thought that the most enjoyable part of the show, the part that didn't feel forced, like just felt like fun and like they're right in their zone, was when they're on this road trip from hell and they're just like hungover and then they eventually start vomiting. Was that your favorite part of the episode, or did you like something else better?
No, I like the part where they were murdering all the people in the village.
That was fun too. But both moments have the Baby Shark song. Now, what'd you think about that?
Yes, so I did think it was weird. I hope that's not like the song moment from this season. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I think it almost would have been funny if they started singing it at some point, but maybe that's too cliche. I don't know. But they start off with it playing, they can't shut up, and it's 1 hour later and 3 hours later. I thought it was going to be something like that, but no. Instead, they just all start vomiting.
Yeah,
to Baby Shark.
Yeah, I love that sequence of them all just like puking and just being miserable, and then like eventually Victor's powers blow up and stop the car. I didn't know why they couldn't turn the song off. They had to like, keep playing it for hours.
Like okay, like a tape stuck in there or whatever, and like so you can't turn the volume off. You can't. I don't know. Want to just break it at that point?
Yeah, right. They have superpowers, like stick a tentacle or something in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's a lot of fun. And then they bring it back for this sequence. And then at one point, there's a Santa running with machine guns, and they hit him with the van, and it's playing Baby Shark. I feel like there was a Santa with machine guns in the comic. Do you think that's possible?
That does sound about right.
Yeah.
I feel like I could see it. I haven't reread it in a while, so.
Yeah. Maybe I need to just get these from the library, because it's real quick to read the Umbrella Academy comics. And they're so different from the show. I know in the Hotel Oblivion, there's like a whole bunch of villains, and they all have like weird powers and stuff too.
Yeah, and it's really it's maybe 20 issues total.
Yeah.
So
the whole thing, yeah, because there's the first one, then there's Dallas, and then there's Hotel Oblivion, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's worth checking out. Cool, man. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about this episode?
I guess not. No.
Guys, I know it's weird for us to cover a show that all 6 episodes are out of, and we're just doing one at a time, but who knows? Maybe next week we will do a little dump on you guys. I hope you're into that. But maybe we'll watch the Batman thing next. We appreciate your time. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And Brian and I will be back next week to cover some of, if not all,